Those humans are practically defenseless, Commander Ra announced to the gathered war council, his forearms gesturing dismissively at the holographic image of Earth rotating slowly before them. Their military technology is at least 3 centuries behind ours. They have no planetary shield, no orbital defense grid, and their most advanced weapons still rely on chemical propellants. Chemical? Can you believe that? The 7 other members of the Xantari High Command nodded in agreement, their scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the hologram. General Pax, the eldest among them, leaned forward with a skeptical expression. Yet you propose a full-scale invasion? For what purpose? Their resources are unremarkable. Their planet is mostly water, and they present no threat to Xanturi Dominion. General Pax said, his gravelly voice carrying the weight of centuries of military experience. Commander Vra's secondary eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of excitement among the Xantari. Ah! But you haven't heard the best part. These humans have something unique in the galaxy, something we have never encountered before. And that is, Admiral Tolo asked, her interest finally peaked. They care for their young. Intensely, ridiculously even, they have buildings called orphanages where they house young whose parents have died. Instead of recycling these parentless offspring for resources, as any sensible species would, they collectively raise them. They expend valuable resources on children who contribute nothing to their society. Vra couldn't contain his laughter, a series of clicking sounds that echoed through the war chamber. The council members exchanged confused glances. I fail to see how this is relevant to military strategy, General Pax said flatly. Vra composed himself, his primary eyes narrowing. It's psychological warfare, esteemed general. The humans have a bizarre emotional attachment to their young. They value the lives of their offspring more than their own. If we target these orphanages, they will surrender immediately to prevent further harm to their precious children. A long silence followed as the council contemplated this strategy. You are suggesting we bomb buildings full of immature humans? Non-combatants? Admiral Tolo asked, her voice carefully neutral. Precisely. One strike, minimal resources expended, and the humans will capitulate. We claim Earth as a colony without a prolonged conflict. The Emperor will be most pleased with our efficiency, Ross said, puffing out his chest plates in pride. General Pax looked troubled. The data on humans is limited. We have only been observing them for a few of their years. Are you certain this strategy will work? Absolutely. The Scout Legion reports indicate humans become irrational when their young are threatened. They will surrender within hours of our demonstration. Trust me, this will be the easiest conquest in Xantari history, Ra proclaimed. Very well. General Pax conceded with obvious reluctance. A single strike on one of these orphanages as a demonstration, but I want a full battle fleet in orbit just in case. Ra nodded eagerly. Of course, of course. A wise precaution, though I assure you it won't be necessary. Lieutenant Zorn hated Earth duty. The gravity was uncomfortably strong, the atmosphere too rich in oxygen, and the local food made his digestive sacs burn. But as the youngest officer in tactical intelligence, he had no choice but to accept this assignment. His current task was particularly unpleasant. Final reconnaissance of the target before tomorrow's strike. The building before him was large by human standards, 3 stories tall with a sprawling playground behind it. A colorful sign proclaimed it as New Horizons Children's Home. This is absurd, he muttered into his communicator. These humans waste valuable real estate on non-productive members of their species. Focus on the mission, Lieutenant. The bored voice of his supervisor responded from orbit. Confirm occupancy levels and defensive capabilities. Zorn adjusted his holographic disguise, ensuring he still appeared as a human mail carrier. Occupancy appears to match our estimates. Approximately 60 immature humans, ages ranging from newly hatched to pre-adolescent. Adult supervision numbered at 8. No visible weapons or defensive systems. Not even basic shield generators or automated sentries. And the surrounding area? Zorn scanned the neighborhood. Residential zone. No military installations within 5 kilometers. Nearest police station is 3 kilometers southwest. Excellent. Return to extraction point. The strike is scheduled for 0800 local time tomorrow. As Zorn turned to leave, a small human child approached him on the sidewalk. Female, he guessed, based on the longer hair and pink clothing their species use for gender designation. "Hello, Mr. Mailman. Do you have letters for us today?" she asked, smiling widely to reveal a missing front tooth. Zorn's universal translator processed her words easily, but he struggled with an appropriate response. His briefing on mail carrier behavior had been minimal. "No letters today," he managed, trying to mimic the local accent. The child looked disappointed, but then brightened. "That's okay. Tomorrow is our big party anyway. Ms. Donna says we are having cake and ice cream because our home has been open for 10 years. Zorn nodded awkwardly. "That sounds pleasant. You should come. Ms. Donna says we should always be kind to everyone who helps our community, like mailmen and firefighters and doctors." The child continued. A taller human emerged from the building, calling out, "Penny, come back inside for lunch, sweetheart." The child waved at Zorn. "Bye, Mr. Mailman. Hope you have a super-duper day." As she ran back to the building, Zorn felt an unfamiliar sensation in his third stomach. Discomfort, perhaps from the local atmosphere. He shook it off and continued toward his extraction point, eager to return to the sterile environment of the orbital command ship. The next morning, from his observation post 3 kilometers away, Zorn watched as a precision striker descended from the clouds. The sleek, dart-shaped vessel was nearly silent, its stealth systems rendering it invisible to Earth's primitive radar. His communicator crackled. "Strike commencing in 60 seconds. He confirmed final clearance, Lieutenant." Zorn hesitated, the child's smile flashing in his memory. This was wrong. Somehow, not because of their mission. The Xantari had conquered dozens of worlds, and children died in wars. That was a natural order of things. But something about the specific targeting felt dishonorable. "Lieutenant, we need final clearance," the voice insisted. Military discipline won out over his momentary doubt. "Clearance confirmed. Proceed with the strike." The striker positioned itself directly above the orphanage. A bright blue light gathered at its underside as the plasma cannon charged. In a single, devastating pulse, the energy beam struck the building. The explosion was both smaller and larger than Zorn expected. Smaller in that the striker's precision meant only the orphanage was destroyed, leaving surrounding buildings intact. Larger in the sense that the sound seemed to echo across the entire planet, as if Earth itself was screaming. As debris rained down and smoke billowed into the clear morning sky, Zorn waited for the panic, for the chaos that would precede the humans' inevitable surrender. Instead, something very different happened. His communicator exploded with frantic chatter. Multiple launches detected. Earth militaries are activating weapons systems worldwide. "What? That's impossible," Zorn replied. "They should be surrendering." "They are not surrendering, Lieutenant. They are attacking. All our ships report incoming missiles. Primitive nuclear weapons, but hundreds of them." Zorn's blood ran cold. That makes no sense. The briefing said they would capitulate when their young were threatened. The voice on the communicator had changed, now replaced by the stern tones of General Pax himself. "Lieutenant, return to extraction immediately. The humans are broadcasting a message on all frequencies." "What message, sir?" There was a pause before General Pax responded, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. "They are declaring what they call total war. Their world leaders are unanimous. No surrender, no negotiation. They have stated their intention to, and I quote, exterminate every last Xanturi in the galaxy for what we have done." Zorn felt dizzy. "But that's insanity. They can't possibly hope to defeat us." "Return to extraction now, Lieutenant. That's an order." As Zorn hurried toward the extraction point, he noticed something peculiar. The humans he passed weren't running or screaming. There were tears, yes, but their faces showed something else. Something he'd never seen on any species of Xanturi had conquered before. Rage. Cold, focused rage. Back aboard the command ship, chaos reigned. Officers rushed between stations, voices raised in alarm and confusion. "Report," General Pax demanded as Zorn entered the bridge. Admiral Tullo looked up from a display, her scales pale with stress. 17 ships lost already, General. The humans are using their nuclear arsenal with no regard for their own safety. They are detonating warheads in their own atmosphere. How is this possible? Commander Vra shouted, his earlier confidence replaced by panic. The psychological profile was clear. They should be surrendering to protect their remaining young. An intelligence officer approached with a data pad. Sir, we misunderstood something fundamental about humans. Our analysts interpreted their protective instinct toward their young as a weakness, as something we could exploit. And General Pax prompted, "It's not weakness, sir. It's the source of their strength. When we targeted their orphanage, we didn't break their will to fight. We removed all limits on how they would fight back." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans have a concept called rules of war, the intelligence officer continued. Limitations they place on themselves during conflicts. By targeting their orphanage, we have caused them to abandon these rules entirely. The tactical officer interrupted. General, Earth communications indicate they are arming every weapon in their arsenal. They are activating nuclear submarines, bombers, everything. And they are sending messages to their off-world colonies to prepare for what? General Pax demanded. For a war of extinction, sir. Against us. Commander Vra laughed nervously. This is absurd. They are a pre-FTL civilization with primitive weapons. They can't possibly threaten the Dominion. As if in answer to his dismissal, the ship shuddered violently. Warning alarms blared. What was that? General Pax demanded. Nuclear detonation. Point-blank range against our shields. How did they get a warhead so close? Admiral Tullo exclaimed. They loaded it onto a passenger aircraft and flew it directly into our shield perimeter, the tactical officer reported, disbelief evident in his voice. The pilot deliberately sacrificed himself. General Pax's expression darkened. Order all ships to pull back beyond their weapon range. We need to regroup and reassess. Commander Vra was nearly hysterical now. Pull back? We can't show weakness. We need to hit them harder. Bomb more of their cities. Silence. General Pax roared. Your strategic miscalculation has already cost us dearly, Commander. You claimed they would surrender to protect their young. Instead, they are willing to die to avenge them. As the command ship accelerated away from Earth, Zorn found himself drawn to a viewport. The blue planet grew smaller in the distance, but somehow more threatening. Something about those humans, their rage, their unity in the face of attack, disturbed him deeply. Lieutenant, General Pax said, suddenly beside him. Zorn snapped to attention. Sir, you were on the surface. You saw these humans up close. What's your assessment? Zorn considered carefully before answering. They are not like other species we have encountered, sir. When that orphanage was destroyed, something changed in them. It's as if they were holding back before, restraining themselves. And now they have stopped. General Pax nodded grimly. The High Command is convening an emergency session. The Emperor himself will attend. We need to decide how to respond to the situation. Sir, if I may ask, what do you think will happen? The old general stared out at the receding Earth. His primary eyes narrowed. In all my centuries of warfare, Lieutenant, I have never seen a species respond this way. We struck at what we thought was their weakness, but instead, we have awakened something terrible. He turned to face Zorn directly. I think we have made a grave mistake, and I fear we are about to learn exactly what total war means to humans. As if to punctuate his words, a distant flash of light caught their attention. One of the Xantari destroyers, caught by Earth's defensive fire, erupted into a ball of flame, visible even at this distance. The first day of war had barely begun, and already nothing would ever be the same. The Xanturi Imperial Palace gleamed under twin suns, its crystalline spires refracting light in dazzling patterns across the capital city. But inside the Grand Strategy Chamber, the atmosphere was anything but brilliant. Emperor Kaza VI, supreme ruler of the Xanturi Dominion and conqueror of 16 systems, was not pleased. You targeted what? The Emperor's voice was dangerously quiet as he stared at Commander Vra, who knelt trembling before the obsidian throne. "A human care facility for young without parents, Your Magnificence," Vra repeated, his scales now a sickly pale green. "Our intelligence suggested you bombed a building full of defenseless offspring." The Emperor rose from his throne, his massive frame casting Vra in shadow. "Based on intelligence that was, 3 years old? From a species we barely understand." General Pack stepped forward, bowing deeply. "The responsibility is ultimately mine. Emperor, I approve the strike." Emperor Costa's 4 eyes narrowed. "And the current situation?" Admiral Tullo activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. "Catastrophic, Your Magnificence. We have lost 37 ships in the first Earth day alone. The humans have activated their entire nuclear arsenal, thousands of warheads, and they are using them with complete disregard for collateral damage." "They are using nuclear weapons in their own atmosphere?" asked the Emperor incredulously. "Yes, Your Magnificence. They appear unconcerned with the long-term environmental impact. They are solely focused on destroying our forces at any cost." The Emperor sank back into his throne. "Show me their communication. The one declaring this total war." The hologram shifted to show a human female in formal attire, standing behind a podium emblazoned with an eagle symbol. Her face was streaked with tears, but her voice was steady, cold, and resolute. "Today, the alien invaders known as the Zanturi deliberately targeted and destroyed the New Horizons children's home, killing 57 children and 8 caregivers. This unprovoked attack on our most innocent and vulnerable citizens represents a level of barbarity unknown in human history." She paused, and when she continued, her voice had hardened further. "The nations of Earth, united as one, hereby declare total war against the Zantari species. There will be no negotiations, no surrenders, no mercy. Every resource, every weapon, every human being on Earth and throughout our colonies is now dedicated to a single purpose: the complete and utter eradication of the Zantari threat. We will not rest until justice has been served for the children of New Horizons." The hologram froze on her face, fierce determination etched in every line. "She speaks of their entire planet?" the Emperor asked. "Yes," Admiral Tullo confirmed. "Within hours of the strike, every major human government signed what they call the Final Accord. It suspends all previous treaties and laws of warfare. It authorizes the use of any means necessary to, as they put it, hunt down every last Zanturi in the galaxy." Lieutenant Zorn, standing at attention near the back of the chamber, felt a chill run through his body. The coldness in the human leader's eyes reminded him of the expressions he'd seen on Earth immediately after the strike. The Emperor's chief science advisor, Professor Mix, cleared his throat. "Your Magnificence, if I may, there's something about humans you should know. They evolved as persistence predators. Before they developed technology, they hunted by pursuing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can maintain focus on a single goal for extraordinary periods of time. When that's combined with their unusual pack-bonding behaviors and their protective instinct toward their young," the professor trailed off. "Continue," the Emperor commanded. "They won't stop, Your Magnificence. Not now. In their minds, we have committed the ultimate atrocity. Their cultural narratives consistently feature vengeance as a primary motivator. Their most ancient stories celebrate warriors who avenge fallen comrades, particularly children." The chamber fell silent as this assessment sank in. "Can they actually pose a threat to the Dominion?" the Emperor finally asked. Admiral Tullo hesitated. "Normally, I would say no. Their technology is primitive by our standards. But their response has been unprecedented. They have already sacrificed thousands of their own people in suicide attacks against our fleet, and they are fast learners." She gestured, and the hologram displayed a Zantari cruiser being swarmed by small Earth vessels. "They have already figured out that our shield harmonics can't process multiple impact points simultaneously. They are overwhelming our defenses with quantity rather than quality, and they are salvaging our technology from destroyed ships." The Emperor's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Recommendations?" General Pack stepped forward again. "A full strategic withdrawal, Your Magnificence. We underestimated them severely. We should regroup, reassess, and approach with adequate forces. Inadequate? Commander Vra shouted, desperation making him bold. We cannot show weakness. We must crush them completely now, before they can organize further, bombard their planet from orbit, sterilize the surface. With what fleet? Admiral Tillo countered. We have already lost a third of our invasion force. The humans have moved their remaining nuclear arsenals into hidden locations. Their submarines are undetectable to our sensors. They are dispersing into guerrilla units. A planetary bombardment would require us to maintain orbital positions that leave us vulnerable to their counterattacks. The Emperor raised a hand for silence. Lieutenant Zorn, you were on the surface. Step forward. Surprised at being addressed directly, Zorn moved to the center of the chamber and knelt. Your Magnificence. You saw these humans up close, not through data feeds or intelligence reports. With your own eyes. What did you observe? Zorn chose his words carefully. They are physically unimpressive, Your Magnificence. Soft-bodied, fragile. But there is something in their eyes. A fire. When I witnessed their reactions after the orphanage was destroyed, I saw rage, yes, but also purpose, unity. As if they had become a single organism with a single goal. And that goal is our destruction, the Emperor concluded. Yes, Your Magnificence. I believe they will pursue that goal beyond all rational limits. 3 months later, Lieutenant Zorn stood on the observation deck of the Imperial dreadnought Inevitable Victory, watching as yet another Xantari colony was evacuated. Transports filled the sky of Nexus 2, carrying civilians to supposedly safer worlds deeper in Dominion territory. Quite a sight, isn't it? The voice belonged to General Pax, who had somehow appeared beside him without notice. Yes, sir, Zorn replied, straightening to attention. I didn't expect the evacuation order to come so soon for Nexus 2. Neither did the High Command. The old general scales had dulled since the war began, the vibrant blue fading to a weathered gray. The humans are advancing faster than our projections indicated. They have adapted our shield technology already, and their FTL drives are crude but effective. Zorn nodded. The human fleets had appeared in the Nexus system just days ago, using captured Xanturi ships alongside their own rapidly manufactured vessels. They fought with a ferocity that shocked even veteran Xanturi commanders. Did you hear about Outpost Krell? General Pax asked. No, sir. The humans didn't attack it. They sent a single message. We know this outpost conducts biological research. You have 6 hours to evacuate all personnel. After that, it burns, and exactly 6 hours later, they reduced it to ash. Zorn frowned. They gave warning? Why? The outpost had a nursery pod, 300 eggs and 20 hatchlings. General Pax's secondary eyes blinked slowly. They let them evacuate first. The implication was clear. The humans were being more merciful to Xanturi children than the Xantari had been to human children. The Emperor's call for peace talks, Pax continued. 3 times now, the humans respond to the same message. I remember New Horizons. On the planet below, the last transports were lifting off. Soon, Nexus 2 will be abandoned to the advancing human fleets. How did we miscalculate so badly? Zorn wondered aloud. General Pax sighed, a whistling sound through his spiracles. We thought their attachment to their young was weakness. We thought it would make them surrender. Instead, it made them unstoppable, Zorn finished. Come, the general said. The War Council is meeting. The Emperor himself will attend via hologram. The mood in the War Council chamber was grim. The holographic display showed the steady advance of human forces through former Xanturi territory. 15 colonies lost, 31 outposts destroyed, hundreds of ships captured or annihilated. The Emperor's hologram flickered into existence above the central table. Report, he commanded, his voice weary. Admiral Tullo, now Supreme Commander of all Xanturi forces, stood. The humans have developed a new weapon, Your Magnificence. They are calling it the Horizon Protocol. It targets our communication networks, using our own signals to locate and identify Xanturi positions. Can we counter it? Not effectively. They have studied our technology thoroughly. Every captured ship provided them with more data. They are quick learners. The Emperor's hologram seemed to age before their eyes, and their terms remain unchanged. Yes, Your Magnificence. They demand unconditional surrender of all Xanturi forces, followed by war crimes tribunals for those involved in the orphanage bombing. War crimes, the Emperor repeated, a concept foreign to them before now. Professor Mix, who had become the Dominion's leading expert on human psychology, spoke up. The humans place extraordinary value on justice, Your Magnificence. They see our attack on their orphanage as a crime demanding punishment. In their cultural framework, allowing the perpetrators to escape justice will be nearly as reprehensible as the original act. And if we surrender, what happens to our people? Our worlds? Admiral Tullo hesitated. Based on intercepted communications, they plan to confine the Xantari species to our homeworld and 3 core colonies. They would dismantle our fleet and place monitoring stations throughout our former territory. Containment, the Emperor said bitterly. They would cage us like animals. It's more mercy than we showed them, General Pax noted quietly. The Emperor's 4 eyes focused on him sharply. Explain. We struck without warning, targeting their most vulnerable. They have given evacuation notices to civilian populations. They have focused their attacks on military targets. Even now, when they hold the upper hand, they show restraint. Restraint. Admiral Tullo scoffed. They have destroyed 15 of our colonies. Military colonies. General Pax corrected. They bypassed Veloci entirely, a civilian agricultural world with no strategic value. They could bombard our homeworld from orbit, but they haven't. That's not because they can't, Admiral. It's because they choose not to. The council chamber fell silent as this realization spread. Finally, the Emperor spoke. They are giving us a chance to surrender, to survive as a species, if not as an empire. Yes, Your Magnificence, General Pax confirmed, though their conditions are harsh. An alternative? The Emperor asked. Admiral Tullo's scales paled. Based on current trajectories, total defeat within 1 Earth year. Their production capacity is astonishing. They have converted their entire industrial base to warship manufacturing. Every human colony is now a military outpost. They are united in purpose in a way I have never seen in any species. The Emperor's hologram flickered as he considered their options. Professor Mix, if we surrender, will they honor the terms, or will they destroy us anyway once we are defenseless? The professor thought carefully before answering. Humans place high value on keeping their word, Your Magnificence. It's a matter of honor for them. If they accept our surrender under specific terms, they will likely adhere to those terms, provided we do the same. And those responsible for the orphanage bombing, what fate awaits them? Punishment, certainly. Possibly execution for those who ordered the strike. The professor's eyes flicked briefly toward Commander Ra, who had grown increasingly withdrawn as the war progressed. The Emperor's hologram straightened to its full impressive height. I will address the Dominion in 1 hour. Prepare for my announcement. As the hologram faded, the council erupted in confused discussion. Lieutenant Zorn found himself next to General Pax, who stood silently amidst the chaos. What did he decide? Zorn asked. What any rational leader would, the general replied. Survival over pride. 1 Earth year later, Lieutenant Zorn, now civilian researcher Zorn, stood nervously outside the human diplomatic compound on Xanturi Prime. After months of correspondence, he had finally been granted an interview with the human delegation. The guards, both human and Xanturi, scanned him thoroughly before allowing him to enter. Inside, he was led to a small conference room where a human male waited. Ambassador Reed, Zorn said, bowing in the human fashion he had studied. Mr. Zorn, the human replied, extending his hand in the traditional greeting. Thank you for coming. Your research proposal was quite interesting. Zorn carefully shook the human's hand, still finding the gesture strange. Thank you for considering it, Ambassador. Please sit. The ambassador gestured to a chair. Your proposal for a joint historical archive of the war is ambitious. May I ask your interest in such a project? Zorn settled his forearms carefully before responding. I was there on Earth the day the orphanage was bombed. I saw what happened afterward. I believe both our species need to understand how such a terrible miscalculation occurred to prevent anything similar in the future. Ambassador Reed studied him with an intensity that reminded Zorn of that day on Earth, of the cold rage in human eyes. But there was something else there now. Curiosity, perhaps even caution. You know that many Xantaris still oppose cooperation with humans? They see the terms of surrender as humiliating. Yes, Zorn acknowledged, but more understand the alternative was extinction. The Emperor's decision saved our species, even at the cost of our empire. The ambassador nodded slowly. There were voices among humans calling for exactly that outcome, for a complete victory over your kind. What changed their minds? Zorn asked. A sad smile crossed the human's face. The recording from the orphanage security system. It survived the bombing, buried in the rubble. It showed one of your people, a disguised Xantari, speaking with a little girl named Penny the day before the attack. Zorn froze, his heart racing. I remember her. She invited you to their anniversary party. The ambassador said quietly, the recording showed your reaction, your hesitation. It humanized you, if you'll pardon the expression. It suggested that not all Xantari approved of targeting children. I didn't, Zorn whispered, but I followed orders. I gave the final clearance for the strike. Ambassador Reed leaned forward. And now you wish to document that moment? To expose your own role? Yes, the truth must be preserved, however painful. The human was silent for a long moment, then pushed the data pad across the table. Your proposal is approved, with conditions. You will work with a human historical team. Full access to all records from both sides. Nothing concealed. Zorn's hands trembled as he accepted the pad. Thank you, Ambassador. I won't forget this opportunity. As he stood to leave, the ambassador asked one final question. Tell me, Mr. Zorn, what do you think is the most important lesson from this war? Zorn considered carefully before answering. That strength comes in many forms. We thought humans were weak because they cared for their young, even those without parents. We saw compassion as a flaw to exploit. And now I understand that a species willing to care for children who aren't their own, who contribute nothing, who share no direct genetic link, possesses a kind of strength we couldn't comprehend. The kind of strength that unites an entire planet in common purpose when those children are threatened. Ambassador Reed nodded, a glimmer of approval in his eyes. Perhaps there's hope for our species after all, Mr. Zorn. As Zorn left the compound, he looked up at the unfamiliar sight of human ships patrolling Xanturi skies. They were a reminder of defeat, yes, but also survival, and perhaps someday of understanding. The day Earth's orphanage was bombed, humanity had introduced Xanturi to total war. But in the peace that followed, perhaps they could introduce something else. The power of protecting those who cannot protect themselves. A lesson learned at terrible cost, but one that might yet save both their worlds.